Hey, everybody, this is Joe Joseph, and this is the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. So, Melissa Dykes penned a great article today entitled The Gravest Threat since 1861. Does the CIA want a new civil war to defeat Trump? It's a very interesting question. It's something that I've been pondering for quite some time now. And as I said yesterday in my Daily News Brief, there's a mass media campaign, a multifaceted one, that seeks to divide this nation in so many different ways. But primarily, what it's done is it's polarized this nation into two distinct camps. They've somehow managed to lump libertarians and then, your constitutional people, your conservative people, the Tea Party, all of you now are lumped into, Trump Republicans is basically what's happened. And it's happened for a reason. They've funneled everybody together on that side, much as they funneled everybody on the left now, the extreme left. And you have a very polarized situation unfolding. I can't believe the number of independents, people that were objective thinkers that have jumped on the train on either side. It blows my mind. I can't believe it. But that's not it. You have to understand that whether or not that happened, there is conflict going on right now between within the Trump administration and with the deep state. That's one thing that we've been seeing with all these leaks, and now with Michael Flynn's resignation. And Melissa writes, information has come out that Michael Flynn's quick departure may have deep state coup written all over it. It's crazy. Now, I'm going to put a link to this article in the description box below, but in the article itself, there's a video. And in that video, Dennis Kucinich, former representative, went on the record about how the intelligence community is essentially sabotaging Trump to reignite a war with Russia. Or really, a war with any other country at this point. I guess they're not making enough money right now. So, there are theories, but one thing is certain, Melissa writes. We aren't being told anything near the whole story of what's really going on behind the scenes, as per the usual need-to-know basis the American public has been in since 1947, when the National Security Act was signed. Now, hints are spilling out at the seams. However, there's a full-on war taking place beneath the surface in Washington. That's huge. Think about that. I mean, you always know that there's politics in the gigantic bureaucracy. But again, just like society has been extremely polarized, so too has the inner workings of some of the deepest parts of the United States government. She says, we have stories coming out everywhere of former CIA agents talking about what's a terrible nightmare America faces under Trump and what a dire threat he is to our institutions and government. Now, when have you ever heard this level of rhetoric against any American president in your lifetime? I mean, even Chairman Obama, or even George Bush, or even Bill Clinton didn't get that level of rhetoric at any point in their presidency. And they committed some pretty atrocious acts, all three of them. She says, for example, Vox interviewed Glenn Carl, a 23-year-old veteran of the CIA and former deputy officer of the National Intelligence Council. Now, interestingly enough, when asked, are we witnessing a shadow war between President Trump and the intelligence community? This is what Carl had to say. He said, quote, we're facing the gravest threat to our institutions and our government since 1861, since the country broke in half. This is a graver crisis than Watergate, which was about corruption, not the usurpation of our laws and our checks and balances. It's graver than World War II, when Hitler never actually threatened our institutions or occupation of Washington. Now just let it all sink in for a minute, folks, because that's huge. So in other words, she writes, there's narrative. Their narrative is that we're facing another civil war because of Trump. This is something that people have said now for a very long time in independent media, that Trump is going to be the scapegoat. And really he is, if you think about it. The man's trying to do, or appears to want to do, the right thing in most cases. You know, foreign policy, he's got a couple of things that I take, I'm kind of different too, but all I can say is he does not appear to be doing a lot of things of his own fruition. Everything seems to be being fed to him. And like a CEO, he's going to quickly glance it over and give it a seal of approval, and that's it. And he surrounded himself with some very interesting characters. And I think, again, that he truly is going to be the scapegoat for some pretty significant change here in America, whether it be for better or for worse. He's either going to be a hero or he's going to be a total and complete failure. Much as the nation's polarized, so too will it be with Trump, I think, where you're going to see either he's really successful or he really messes it up. That's just crazy. Now, when asked, so what's the left to do if you're someone on the inside who understands that the stakes are high and can see what's happening? And this is what Carl went on to say. He said, quote, the only thing you can do is what is now happening. An aroused populace can protect democracy. You fight darkness by casting light upon it. Oh, and just in case you're wondering whether or where all these intelligence leaks are coming from, Carl continued, he said, so one should not characterize leaks as the cowardly and self-interested way the Republicans have as the issue. He says leaks are the only option that one has in this existential crisis to protect the Constitution. However, Mel writes, you have to step back and look at the bigger picture here. There's a narrative on one side. An aroused populace can protect democracy. Think about that. The mainstream media machine has been flipped on to full bottom pushing mode, playing the word chaos completely out there, and they're repeating it so much. It is a key word out there right now. Chaos, chaos, chaos. And meanwhile, outlets like Town Hall have actually declared that there is a second civil war going on already. And on the other side, we have Trump advisors like Newt Gingrich, who actually wrote a revisionist fiction novel about the Civil War. And then there's Steve Bannon, who's openly talking about the next great war, which he says is definitely coming, referring in interviews to Trump as a blunt instrument for us. So who's us exactly when it comes to what Mr. Bannon's talking about? Because it sure ain't me. I'm sure it's not you. I mean, do you want another war? You didn't actually think that we weren't going to go to war. You didn't actually think that we were going to increase the defense budget to not use it, right? I mean, words are powerful. Words are very powerful. You think about it. Before the Second World War, the Department of Defense was Department of War. Department of War is the truth. Department of Defense puts a different picture in your head. That's exactly what they wanted. It's Bernaysian. It's brilliant. And it's out of the old playbook, been around for a long time. And this is what they're doing. She writes, when you step back and you look at everything, the whole situation seems a bit manufactured, don't you think? It's very Matrix-esque. And it doesn't take much, folks, to manipulate the Matrix, to manipulate reality, if you will, on a certain level. You know, really, a lot of it boils down to perception and how people perceive things. And if you can control perception, then you can control people. And that's exactly what's going on here. This polarization that's taken place has been done so on purpose. It's been done so because they don't like the fact that the people are in the peasants and with pitchforks and torches are getting pissed. They're starting to sharpen their pitchforks and they're lighting their torches and they're getting ready. And they don't like it. So they're going to do whatever it takes. If they can't have their system, then they're going to implode the whole thing. And you just have to be ready for it. She concludes, she says, like I said a few days ago, chaos has been weaponized. The country's being torn apart at the seams with divide and conquer to distract us all, while in the background, we're being taken to more war in the Middle East, probably Iran, which will lead to World War III with Russia and China. Not really a rosy picture. Meanwhile, Politico.com, Trump complains that he's inherited a mess in a rant against the media. Check out the press conference he did. Very interesting, the latest White House press conference. It says an exasperated President Donald Trump on Thursday gathered the media in the White House East Room for a dressing down in which he claimed that he inherited a mess and that the dishonest media is not giving his presidency the credit it deserves. Let me say this. I've never seen, first of all, if you're looking for credit, then that's the first mistake. All right? You shouldn't be looking for credit when you're providing a service. I'll give you an example. You call the telephone company, right? When do you call them? Do you call them when you have a problem? When it's broken? When you're PO'd? Absolutely. Have you ever called the telephone company just to say, hey, you're doing a good job, great job, give you some credit? No. Because you expect them to do their job. Right? Why do you need to give them credit? Doesn't happen. When you're a service provider, and a civil servant is exactly that, you're providing a service, then don't look for credit. It ain't coming. Hey, power company. Gee, great job you're doing today. Just wanted to give you a call to let you know. You don't do that. So that's his first mistake. The press, whether it's manipulating or not, is very seldom kind. But he goes on, he says, I'm making this presentation directly to the American people with the media present, which of course is an honor to have you this morning because many of our nation's reporter and folks will not tell you the truth and will not treat the wonderful people of our country with the respect they deserve. That I'm in much agreement with. The press, the mainstream media doesn't do that. They put a spin on everything. And for good reason. I mean, to manipulate you. That's what they get paid the big bucks for. Not to give you the news. It's like Howard Beale says in the movie The Network. You know, that's not what it's meant to do. He said, I inherited a mess. It's a mess. That's President Trump. At home and abroad, it's a mess. Jobs are pouring out of the country. Then he goes to the job thing. I'll be honest with you. You're absolutely right. The federal government is a giant mess. But what Trump is doing is he's taking a grenade and he's throwing it in that mess and he's making it even messier. And really, there needs to be some order to it. Now, you can make change, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and the United States hasn't gotten to this place in a day either. And you're not going to fix it in a day or 100 days or maybe even 1,000 days. This bureaucracy is so huge. Mordor on the Potomac is so vast, and its tentacles spread so far that it is going to be extremely difficult to rein in control if you're a person like a Ron Paul, a Donald Trump, anybody that bucks that globalist push, that globalist control. Wall Street Journal even talks about Donald Trump. It says spies are keeping intelligence from Donald Trump because of the leak concerns. Is it that, or is it a nice excuse? Because isn't it the spies that are actually leaking things on him? And they won't give him intelligence. I mean, this is crazy. It says U.S. intelligence officials have withheld sensitive information from Donald Trump because they're concerned it could be leaked or compromised. This according to current and former officials familiar with the matter. The official decision to keep information from Mr. Trump underscores the deep mistrust that have been actually developed between the intelligence community and the president over his team's contacts with the Russian government, as well as the enmity he was shown the U.S. spy agencies. You know, I don't know. I have to imagine that what he was talking about with Russia was very well intentioned. And I can see no reason why he and his team wouldn't want to reach out to Russia and get the ball rolling, knowing full well they've been elected. They're getting in there. I mean, what's the big deal? Start laying the groundwork for some change before you get in there. And what's wrong with the Russian people? I can't see anything wrong with them. They're human beings like us. They love. They feel like us. You know, they're no different than us. We can change the dynamic. It's very easy. The United States could lead the way. I mean, if we're hell-bent on doing it, right, then why not lead the way in another way? How about lead the way in respecting each other's sovereignty? That would try that. You know, that's a start. There are so many things that you can do. You don't have to drop a grenade in the room. And unfortunately, that's what Donald Trump's done because of who he surrounded himself with. And or he feels it absolutely necessary. Or maybe he walked in and he's like, damn, it's that bad? Well, I might as well nuke the crap out of it because it's already nuked to bits anyway. So whatever his strategy is, remains to be seen. But there are certainly things afoot. And Melissa's right. Melissa's right. There is a campaign afoot, a multifaceted, very dynamic campaign afoot to polarize this nation into possible civil war. I mean, it could get that bad. I don't know. But I'll tell you, sides are being drawn, and so many people that I've seen over the years and I've respected in independent media have just totally gone off the deep end with Trump and bought into the cult of personality that I say that time and time again because that's what it is. That's what it is. We need to judge people based on the merits of their work, not based on the cult of personality, not because they can smile or they can promise you things. Anybody can sell you snake oil. We need substance, folks, and we need change for the good. And the only way that happens is providing accountability, and you can't do it when you jam yourself up the person's tuchus. It's crazy, folks. So let's pay attention to this. Great work, Melissa Dykes. And check out thedailysheeple.com. Go today there and subscribe to our newsletter. And go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today. And folks, I'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.